All right, let's go. So the rear view camera is handy. I do like them, you know. It's just that is a good feature. Obviously, you got on this spec, you have folding mirrors too, which do help. The seating position, the seats are quite good, even they're just a basic trim with some fake leather on, but they're not the type of seats where you feel like after a long drive that your back hurts, right? Also on a GT line and a better spec or GTS, you have electric seats, etc. Some more additional additional electrical equipment, you know, which makes your life easier. But however, this one has decent enough sort of spec. Regards to drive modes, it has Eco, Normal and Sport mode. You know, when you drive in a normal, you know, you pretty much don't need really braking, because the energy recuperation and change polarity on an electric motor brakes the car really well, you know. But when you select sport mode, that sort of changes, and it's not that, you don't have this sort of lag when you take your foot off, and it feels like it straight goes in a braking mode, you know. It's just in the sport mode, it's got more dynamic flow, you know. But when you do floor it down, it's not Tesla Tesla model. It's not Tesla Model S Blade, right? It's not a rocket, but for this size mini SUV, it's a good enough power. Driving through the potholes, uneven road suspension feels soft. It doesn't feel clunky. The car feels solid. Doesn't feel like a sardine tin of can of Coke, you know, empty tin for it. But it feels quite solid. Doesn't feel like, if you've driven prices before, it feels like you're driving in an empty tin box, you know. So in that aspect, it feels, it delivers sort of pleasant drive, I would say, you know. It handles well. It's not a sports car, right? So it handles well. Steering, electric power steering is light, you know. And overview of the vehicle in mirrors and everything else is acceptable as you would have for the vehicle, this type of vehicle. Don't see any kind of weird blind spots or anything like that. If you would ask, coming from manual or petrol, would you feel any somehow different? I would say no, because it's got start and stop button to start the car, and you have manual gear selection knob, which is rolling basis, so it still feel like you would drive an ordinary vehicle. You would not feel anything probably different. It will be just sort of a bit more quiet. But now all the petrol engines with mild hybrids on the sailing modes, and even the diesels, they're reasonably quiet, you know. So there would not be much of a difference. So if you do like, or considering, you can just go for the road to see how it feels. But it's definitely it's a pleasant drive, you know. In my professional opinion, from this size on and smaller, the suspension gets a bit clunkier, you know, due to nature of the high, of the electric vehicle, because of heavy battery. the car does feel sort of stable because of the very low sort of gravity, you know, down to the ground, and all that gravity point, all weight is down, so it does sort of, when you do move around, it feels sort of solid, you know. So even if you drive something smaller like Renault, I forgot this, one of the small cars that did inspection recently, but it is super small, like VW Fox or something like that, and that one is super slow. I would not recommend it, you know. But all the smaller cars, like Hyundai i20, i10, you know, they do, the suspension do feel clunky because it's light. But this one, the same one of Hyundai, they have, what was the model? Just jumped over my head, but similar as a Niro size, they have one. So that sort of size already, I mean, I would say from Golf size, Focus size, you know, you got decent handling, you know, and decent feel of suspension. In my opinion, once you get in the Ford Fiesta, you can feel is a bit clunky, you know, suspension. However, I drive this Kia Sportage, right? And the bigger, I have 19-inch wheels on that vehicle, and suspension feels terrible, right? I don't like it because the wheels are too big. You feel every pothole, and suspension does feel like this vehicle have drove like 100,000 miles, you know. So it just doesn't feel soft because it's a typical McPherson suspension. The cheapest suspension on the maintenance and in production. It's just have the limitations, you know, how big wheels you can put on. When you put a bigger wheel on a multi-link suspension, it will be different, right? And if you've got an air suspension and etc., those are ride enhancements, you know, which will make that ride smooth, and you will not feel the huge wheels, right? And that's a completely different game, you know. That suspension generally costs more, so the car will cost more. The semblance, production, maintenance, everything in general, right? So coming back to this car, it drives well. It's got reasonable power, enough power on the motorway, and can't really say anything bad apart from the obviously plastic interior, you know, which I don't like. There are a few bits even on my Kia Sportage I don't like, but for the Kia Sportage is better. You got some, again, it's a newer model, so that means the aesthetics and the trims, they improved it. They put plastic shiny trims on it, so it makes more pleasant, right? Again, they get dirty, complain whatever, you know. Again, I'm just going off, but finishing this one off for somebody can be an everyday runner, you know. There's nothing bad I can say. Everything works. It does the job, and the suspension and everything overall, dynamically, everything is, I think, done to the well enough standard, you know. I hope this helps. If you wanna get one, you know, you will not be disappointed, you know. See you next time.